Good evening, everyone. My name is Giacomo Costantini, and I am the Councillor for Tourism, Smart Cities, and Event Coordination of the city of Ravenna. Welcome to this end of 18th century palace, which used to belong to an ancient family of Ravenna, and now is the headquarters of the municipality. Now, I would like to thank the speakers who have accepted our invitation in order to participate in this preview of the After Festival. I would like to remind you that the entire initiative can be followed both in Italian and in English, thanks to the simultaneous interpreting service. Now, AFTA is promoted by the Emilia-Romagna region, and its goal is to deepen the relationship between technology and public administration and understand the way that technology impacts our everyday life. The festival has reached its fourth edition, and after Modena, Reggio Emilia and Bologna, now it is being held in Ravenna. And it has a specific focus on tourism. Now, behind me, you can see the logo of the After Festival. Now, you see that it depicts Dante, the poet, wearing an oculus in order to represent the specificity of our area. Now, our region has always treasured its diversity because this diversity contains the keys for its uniqueness. Now, our region is also interested in becoming internationally known. So, how can it be done in the near future, especially after the healthcare emergency that has revolutionized the priorities of governments and local authorities? That is the question we will try to understand today. And the speakers today will focus also on other themes, and especially the presence of digital technologies in everyday life. Now, the skills of people have had to increase. We have had to start buying stuff online. We've had to use streaming platforms, use cloud technologies. We've had to resort to a lot of instruments. And we've had to keep using technologies such as augmented reality and virtual reality and QR codes. Now, this has been true also for public institutions, and especially those who deal with tourism, who've had to use new technologies in order to keep carrying out their activities in compliance with the healthcare measures that have led us to use these technologies. Now, we will have ready to face these challenges, keeping in mind that the use of technologies, digital technologies, is not aimed at replacing real experiences, but rather at enhancing real experiences. Now, as organizers, we've had the opportunity of seeing that expectations have changed in many different regards, and together with them, also the reasons behind trips have changed as well. So, having a new working method will be paramount, and that working method will have to be based on data, and that data will have to be used to better plan trips. A new awareness of our borders will be required as well, for us to be able to better cooperate with other nations. Now, we will have to collaborate with WTO, public institutions such as the UN, and many other partners. Now, to open the day, we will start from the introductory speeches of our speakers. Then, during the second session, we will focus on the markets with the help of the main players in the market. Now, the panel will be moderated by Silvia Mazza, travel marketing specialist of the Tourist Promotion Agency of Emilia-Romagna. Now, the third session, which will be moderated by Tom Hall, a senior journalist for the Lonely Planet Guide, will hear the experiences of many European cities directly from those who have had to change their activities in this year of 2020. Now, our region and our city have recently received an international recognition by being included in the best destinations of the travel guide.
E questo per il 2021, anno caro a Ravenna, anche perché sarà l'anno in cui celebreremo il 7° centenario dalla morte di Dante Alighieri.
Next year, 2021, we will also celebrate the birth of Dante Alighieri, and for this occasion, I would like to show you the video to celebrate that travel, also thanks to the collaboration of Stefano Corsi.
Questo è il tempo della lentezza, un tempo fatto di attese, di ore dilatate, di piccole cose. Ed è il tempo del rispetto, per gli altri, per la natura, per il nostro pianeta. Ecco perché oggi questo riconoscimento è ancora più importante. Lonely Planet, la guida turistica più famosa al mondo, inserisce tra le 30 destinazioni da non perdere per il 2021 un'unica realtà italiana: le vie di Dante. Il percorso fra la Toscana e l'Emilia-Romagna che fece il grande poeta durante il suo esilio. Luoghi scelti non solo per la loro bellezza. Le vie di Dante vengono inserite nella categoria sostenibilità, come esempio di turismo slow. Un itinerario da percorrere con lentezza, a piedi, in bicicletta o in treno. A contatto con la natura, riscoprendo tradizioni e sapori fra piccoli borghi e antichi palazzi, pievi romaniche e botteghe artigiane. Come accolsero Dante più di 700 anni fa, queste strade saranno lì ad accogliere anche noi, quando usciremo a rivedere le stelle.
Today's initiative, as I said during the opening, is a preview during which we will try and capture the ideas of our speakers, also thanks to the support of a company specialized in graphic facilitization, which will draw the map of the event, which will be shared at the end of the proceedings. Now, this map will be at the basis of the festival that will take place next spring in Ravenna, and hopefully we will be able to see it live. Now, for those who are following the proceedings, I would like to remind you that you can ask questions to our speakers group chat, and I would also like to remind you that a simultaneous interpreting service is available from English into Italian and from Italian into English. Now, I would like to introduce our first speaker to you, our Councillor, Paola Salomoni. So, Councillor, the Councillor to the Digital Agenda, University and Research. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Ms. Salomoni. But I can call you Paola since we know each other. Now, thank you for your hospitality. Now, I'm speaking from the Regents building, which is way less beautiful than the municipality building. Now, today is a step of the process that is called after. Now, the goal behind this event is to share some moments together, awaiting the opportunity to meet each other in person very soon and look for solutions together. And this is also a stage of a process that has already crossed the great part of the region and also aimed at covering the entire region. Now, when it comes to the digital agenda of Emilia-Romagna, now this is a program of the Council and the region which has a very broad goal of supporting this phenomenon which is called digital transformation. Now, not only through the public administration, but also through society as a whole. We are about to publish a new digital agenda, and the new agenda will follow after, and it will try to broaden its horizons, becoming a transversal instrument, an instrument that can contain all the policies that have an impact on the digital world or that use technology in a transversal fashion. So there is a focus on tourism, but there is also a focus on a political framework. For instance, culture. Culture is another strong point. We have already discussed it. Agriculture is another element. Now, agriculture plays a very important role in this region, as does the entire development system. Now, the idea underlying our new program is that of entering the lives of citizens through this set of new technologies based on data availability, transforming them over the next few years in instruments and options that are available to everybody. So not only a means for research and innovation, but also as a societal fabric that will have to be permeated by digital technologies. Public policies will benefit from digital technologies, so that all decisions, political decisions, can be digital. And digital technology can also support medicine and education. The pandemic has violently taught us the importance of these technologies in order for us to exercise our daily rights, the right to work, the right to health, and so on and so forth. So, through the new agenda, we will do our best in order to render digital technologies available to the entire population. And I can assure you that this goal will entail actions carried out by my colleagues. Now, I don't want to waste too much of your time. I believe that what matters in a process is being able to work, and hopefully we will meet each other during the next phase. And again, the agenda is a participatory instrument, so please keep in mind that there is always a way to interact with us and work together with us in order to decide what the next phase and the next destination will be. We will be there in order to embark upon this path together. So thank you, Paolo Solomoni, Councillor Paolo Solomoni. And now I will have to read a letter by Councillor, another Councillor of Emilia-Romagna, Andrea Corsini. He is a Councillor for Tourism, Commerce, Mobility. And the Councillor has sent us a letter because he has just become a father once again. So we are going to let him enjoy the company of his family, but we're going to read his letter. And the letter reads: The history of tourism in our region testifies to its vocation. Now, being able to go digital has become fundamental in order for us to keep competitive. Holidays increasingly require technologies such as smartphones, tablets, and so on in order to be fully enjoyed. Now, COVID-19 has revolutionized our lives, and our region is among the first in Italy for smartness levels, and our goal is to make our tourist offer ever more digital, without forgetting the human component and that the occasion to hospitality that has always characterized us. Now, today we're going to look at the future, and despite the uncertainty that the future holds, and our region has responded well to the problems of this period, and it has shown its ability to create networks. So I wish the proceedings every success, I wish after every success, and I wish all the protagonists of this event every success. Once again, I would like to thank our counselors, Paolo Salomoni and Andrea Corsini, for their introductory speeches. I'm about to introduce the next speakers, starting from Alessandra Briante, who is the European Director of the UNWTO. Hello, everybody. My name is Alessandra Briante, the European Director of the UNWTO, which is the United Nations agency specialized in world tourism, and especially the promotion of sustainable, responsible, and universally accessible tourism. For me, it is a pleasure to be here during the preview of After Festival, which hopefully will take place in Ravenna. Now, this festival, which is promoted by the Emilia-Romagna region and especially by the municipality of Ravenna, is very interesting, especially because it focuses on tourism and especially new digital technologies. Now, I have spoken with Giacomo, and I would like to share a few inputs deriving from my daily activity, and which can also provide us with food for thought in order for us to be able to better face the challenges of the future. I would like to say, to describe the way that technology can serve as a leader for the future. First and foremost, the first thing that the UNWTO does is studying data. Now, COVID-19 has faced us with a shocking reality. In this context, with the closing of all borders and with the end of international mobility, there has been a huge transformation in society, and the number of tourists, incoming tourists, has decreased by 80%, and this means that a lot of time will be required in order to recover from this. Now, I would like to share a presentation with you. I will do it through Zoom, and there is data that I would like to share with you. Now, this data is available on our website, unwto.org, and this data shows you that we have been monitoring the situation. Now, we are running the risk of losing hundreds of thousands of jobs, and we run the risk of losing 910 billion to 1.2 trillion US dollars, and natural resources, and many other things. Now, the curve of tourism is quite normal, as you can see in the other years, but this year it has been the opposite. Indeed, the situation is dramatic. because we are experiencing the second wave. We are basically a semi-lockdown has been introduced. There is a traffic light system that tells us where we can and cannot go. And ski resorts are being told to remain closed, and this is going to be a huge problem. Of course, this situation has prompted us to do way more than usual, and so we have decided to collaborate with the Global Tourism Crisis Committee and all the private sectors in all our member states in order to understand what is to be done. We are discussing with them in order to understand what solutions could be adopted. We have analyzed and realized a series of instruments that hopefully will prove useful in order to monitor the situation. These are dashboards. And if I may, this is just one example of what a United Nations agency can do. But the most interesting part will be when we see each other in Ravenna and we speak about the potential that innovation and digital transformation can generate for our future. So why am I sharing data? I believe in the importance of knowing where we are, and awareness is very important, and tourism is the only positive strength that can relaunch our economy, both locally and the world. Thank you, Ravenna, thank you, Giacomo, and thank to all the participants. This is what we were saying earlier. Now, thank you, Alessandra Pianta, for her speech and for ideas, and she has focused on data. Now, the UNWTO has a great opportunity, namely that of having a global overview of of the tourism sector. And since you belong to the UN, you can collaborate with other departments of the UN. So the data that you will be that you will be willing to share with us will prove useful for everybody who works in the field of tourism and wants to better plan the future. Now, as we were saying, on top of the transformation of data into information, which is always important, there is another competitiveness factor, namely the ability of building relationships at an international level, and so the creation of collaboration, not only for the creation of travel suggestions, but also the creation of new paths and opportunities for those who want to choose a destination over another, or maybe those who want to know what the best practices of the various cities are. The network of European capitals of smart tourism has offered many opportunities in this regard, which you can find within the website of the European Capital of Smart Tourism. And there, the 20 cities that have been selected over the 2 editions have shared their best practices. Now, this was the content of the introductory speech of the Vice President of the Commission for Transport and Tourism, Hilvan Hueri, who unfortunately will not be able to join us, and he has just told us. And that is a pity because, you know, his introductory speech was going to be very beautiful, and in it he would wish the proceedings every success while waiting to be able to meet in March 2021 in Ravenna.
See you soon in Ravenna for the next year. Passo alla visione.
So now I would like to move on to the video before leaving the floor to Silvia Mazza and the second panel of this day. Good morning and welcome everybody. My name is Silvia Mazza and I work for the Marketing and Promotion Department of APT Servizi, namely the Tourist Promotion Agency of Emilia-Romagna, and I will have the honor and pleasure of moderating the next session and introducing the speakers. Now, before I do that, allow me to remind you that you can follow the stream also through other digital channels such as the YouTube channel and the Facebook page of the event. Now, let us move on to the next session, which will focus on a global overview from data to sustainable tourism. Now, in order to delve into these topics, we will hear from four exceptional speakers, whom I would like to introduce before giving the floor to the first of them. We will begin with Tom Hall, who is a journalist and the senior leader of the prestigious Lonely Planet tourist guide. Then we will move on to Maria Elena Rossi, the marketing and promotion director of ENIT, the Italian body for tourism. Then we will move on to Francesca Benati, the General Director for Italy of Amadeus, as well as the Vice President of the agencies for the West Europe, Middle East and Africa markets. And then we'll move on to Francesco Gabinassi, who's the Scientific Director of BTO by Tourism Online, and he also works for the Tuscany region. Now, as we were saying, this will be a global overview from data to sustainable tourism. So let us begin with Tom Hall from Lonely Planet. Tom, the question is, how has Lonely Planet revolutionized the way of improving the situation of the best destinations, and how has the guide been experiencing this pandemic?
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you. So the first thing to say is that Lonely Planet's Best in Travel is very different this year to previous years. Generally, we seek to recognize the best destinations, journeys, and experiences across countries, cities, and regions. So we have 3 different lists. This year is not a normal year. So when we were looking forward to 2021, we could not come up with the same list that we normally do. What we decided to do instead was to look at some of the key trends in travel. And we view these really as being in 3 buckets: community, sustainability, and diversity. And that's not just across destinations, but it is across people and projects. So there are these 3 categories, and within them we seek to recognize everything from individual storytellers, blog influencers, to community-based tourism projects, to cities and countries that are really offering something distinct within these categories. We're quite excited by it. It's certainly got a good response, and we're looking forward to hearing more about what people think about it as we get into New Year, hopefully the year of recovery. Okay, so
okay, I think that yes,
I'm done answering your question.
The period is difficult, and I would like to move on to Maria Elena Rossi as the marketing director of Enit, and I would like to ask to her, how has the tourism sector changed, both at a national and an international level? Well, first and foremost, thank you for inviting me. Now, speeches that have preceded mine have been very interesting, and indeed this year has been incredible, and it has faced us with new challenges, and the post-COVID effects will lead us to a couple years of setback. We have already looked at the data. I'm not going to look at it again. We don't need it to understand the effects of the global pandemic. But I would like to say something on 2021. That 2021 will be very similar to 2020 when it comes to tourism. 2019 was a record year for Italy, with 430 million overnight stays. And so with a 16% growth compared to the previous year, and that growth was constant as well. Now, the sudden stop in tourism has now led to an 80% decrease in tourism, and the prospects for 2021 are very similar to this year. Now, I'm saying this because this may have been the very first change we have experienced, namely the need to look at products, experiences with new eyes. Many destinations who were reliant on international tourism have had to change their their strategies, and this will remain true for 2021 as well. First and foremost, because now if we look at the data that data on international flights, the capacity will be 30% compared to 2019. So the data is clear when it comes to 2021 and when it comes to 2022, and the situation will indeed improve, but it will take us up to 2024 in order for things to go back to normal. So now these people will travel within a range of 1,000 kilometers, and so the most tourists will come to Italy will come from the rest of Europe, and they will move by car. And this trend will remain the same also in the future. Now here you see some of the projections we have made over the months, and we have opened a page that is uploaded every month, and if you access the website you will be able to see it. And this page has been opened in order to showcase what is going on also with regard to our competitors, namely France and Spain. So European proximity tourism is one of the most important elements of this overview. And UK tourism is very important for Italy. In 2019, UK people amounted to 19 million overnight stays, and now this market will have to be observed carefully in the next year. This year it has achieved very good results. This corridor has remained open, more open compared to other markets. Now, when it comes to extra-European markets, here you see other data, and here we can expect a recovery in volumes starting from 2022, since the Canadian and the US and the Brazilian, Australian, Chinese markets will open up again. These markets will will catch up very slowly with Europe. So this is also an opportunity for rethinking tourism. We will have to re-evaluate our local products, our traditions, our local products. These products have a huge value for the territory because they are really appreciated in international markets. They are a sign of sustainability and responsibility, and there can be no sustainability without responsibility. And we have often forgotten to take care of the planet. So this authenticity and this enhancement of traditions and values can really add value once the tourist flows will begin flowing again. This is what I would focus on. Now, since we are in a digital context, technology has a fundamental role to play. But technology is driven by people differently from other industries. We sell experiences with people. So digital technology are a means to understand, to understand things, to better satisfy our customers, both during and after the customer journey. But I believe that the human factor is still central. Thank you, Maria Elena Rossi, for your data. Now, the data is not comforting, but we knew it. We know what the current situation is like, and we also know what the next future holds. The recovery will be very slow. But during the last part of your speech, you spoke about technology. Technology supporting tourism, and that is, we would like Francesca Benati, as the General Director for Amadeus, to focus on. So, Francesca, how can technology help sustainable tourism? Dr. Benati, can you hear us? Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for the participation. So, I was born in Romagna, so I really care about this region. So I was very happy when you invited me. So the negative data has already been illustrated, but I am an optimist, so I would like to move the focus of the attention to a phenomenon that started growing a few years ago and was then interrupted by COVID. But I believe that this phenomenon will, namely the concept of sustainability, will increasingly influence the world of tourism. Now, when we speak about sustainable tourism, the tourism sector, once it has been able to emerge from the crisis, will play a fundamental role. We will not, well, the projections for 2030 say that around 2 billion people will be traveling around the world in 2030. Now, we know that tourism represents 50% of global CO2 emissions and 4.6% of global climate change, and tourism also represents 11.6% of the global GDP. So this data requires considering. And there is also a growing number of travelers who are ever more interested in sustainability. When people buy trips, they look at sustainability as a fundamental factor, and a huge number of them is willing to pay more in order to reduce CO2 emissions. Now, interest in sustainable tourism aside, when we speak about sustainable tourism, about the very concept of sustainable tourism, the mind goes to smart tourist technologies, which is basically a series of technologies in the field of tourism that contribute to enhancing the commercial strength of regions. Now, there are three fundamental elements which contribute to the sustainability of trips. The first element is the choices of consumers. We want consumers to have access to transparent feeds and information in order to make informed decisions. The availability of information has increased due to COVID, and technology is very helpful. The second point is fair competition, so transparency when it comes to common rules regarding offers, tourist offers. And the third factor is data and technologies. Now, why is the use of data important? Data is important to define goals, whether it be increasing the number of incoming tourists or the quality of incoming tourists. There are technological platforms that help uh, that are really helpful when it comes to understanding what the value that each type of traveler brings. And this data can be used to analyze other tourism issues. So that this data can be used in order to understand when a certain destination will overflow with people, for instance. And it can be used to attract travelers in the best possible way. Now, the more data is used and the more data is available, the more destinations can be accessible and reachable. There are four fundamental fields in which smart tourism technologies can help. So we've just mentioned attraction, so choosing the right, trying to satisfy the needs of tourists and offering them the best travel package. And then there is also the issue of touch points. Now, when in Italy we always speak about hospitality, but we always forget the last mile, namely what is required to attract foreign tourists. People know how to reach Rome or Venice, but if we keep pushing, if we keep highlighting the beauty of secondary destinations, then international tourism will be enhanced. Now, these destinations are often not visible, so that's the problem. The third point is links, and the ability to link private and public infrastructures, and this can benefit from data and technology. And last but not least, the service part. So, understanding the profiling of visitors in order to increase the attractiveness of destinations. So, yeah, the decrease in air travel has led the companies to review their policies. But looking to the future, I believe there is time to use these technologies and data in order to improve the attractiveness of our destinations. Yes, this has been very, very interesting. Now, we were looking also at a slide on ideal trips, and so this is very interesting. Now, when it comes to digital innovation, I would like to move on to the next question, which I would like to ask to Francesco Tapinassi, who deals with technological and digital innovations at the support of tourism. So this is a very important issue. How can we assess the impact of sustainability in tourism? Is it possible? How can it be done?
Thank you for inviting me. Now, the question is very interesting. We've tried to address it during the program on the occasion of the last BTO because we deemed it very interesting. Now, we dedicated our last edition to a wonderful document by the European Commission called Long Life Manifesto. Now, the great question was, how can one link a hyper-technological era made of machines with man in a field such as tourism, as Mrs. Rossi was saying, is focused on the experiences of people. And then there was also the topic of sustainability, which is a very interesting topic. Now, the idea of a friendly technology that is at the service
or the improvement of the quality standards of the service, and so the satisfaction of our visitors can be summarized in three pillars. First and foremost, domotics, so everything that can lead to the simplification that digital technologies can bring about in everyday life. So that is the first topic, and we must not digital transformation with organizational developments. But that is a field where technology can be very useful. Our services are to be frictionless. There need be no obstacles. So when we build an app, when we want to improve a user experience, when we bring together many different interlocutors, we should take these things into account, because customer centricity is very important. So domotics is a first important element. Now witness the way hotels are changing, witness the way the temperature checking is changing. And this is there is also another evolution, which is the human-machine interface, and so we can interact with machines in order to improve our customer experience. And then there is another theme, namely that of the customization of services, and in the specific case of the measurement of the propension towards sustainability, we have been working on a very useful thing, which is a sort of card that is given to you in beach resorts and adapts the number of liters of used by showers based on your needs. And we know that the management of water is a very important theme, and so that is just an example of customization. But now the basic commodities of hotel rooms can be customized as well. Now then there is the theme of data, and there is a smart strategy on that, and based on these themes, and together with the many studies that have been carried out on tourist sustainability, with the invention of indexes of all kinds, we should try and use instruments that are already there, like footprint calculators in the field of tourism, in order to create selection criteria within the framework of experiences. Now, not only when it comes to means of transport. Now, as we know, Trenitalia tells us the amount of CO2 that we have saved by choosing a train, but in this case, the strategy should be all-encompassing. We, as visitors, should know the footprint that our experience has left, that the entire holiday has left on the planet, so to say. And maybe we should also be able to know what our impact could be by changing simple things, such as the means of transport we use. Now, we launched this idea on the occasion of a call for ideas, and it could prove useful by pinpointing simple indicators that are easy to understand, simple to read, and that can lead to immediate results. Thank you very much, Mr. Picassi. You have provided us with a lot of good thoughts. Now, I would like to go back to Tom Paul, and since we were speaking about digitization, we were speaking about human experiences and the human element in tourism, which is very important when it comes to choices. And as a journalist in the tourism sector, has your role changed? Has the current situation, and is it to evolve and cater to different needs?
Uh, I think that the thing is to recognize that there is always a role for human instincts in terms of presenting solutions to the needs of travelers. That said, it would be clearly a great opportunity to use things like travel trends, online traffic, and other data to understand and present travel options around sustainable travel and other travel to our audience, both in print and digital. And indeed, Lonely Planet seeks to do that. We use tools like SimilarWeb and NewsWhip alongside these instincts of our fast-paced online editorial and news operation. This operation, this group of people, this group of editors, is very different to the way in which a travel publisher would have operated traditionally. It needs to move very fast, and it needs to look at what the demands are and the opportunities are within travel content on a minute by minute basis. Whereas before, you may well have published a guidebook to a particular place and then left it alone for possibly even years. Social media obviously plays a key role in this, but it's also very important to recognize that each social media network is different. Facebook is different to Twitter, to Instagram, etc. And each have different approaches, messages, and content needs. So you also quickly become a publisher that not only seeks to speak to different audiences in different ways, but produces different content for different platforms, and very different to traditional content. Could you go to the next slide, please? I can speak while it goes up. Just to give you an example, we have some of our best performing features here. If you look at the picture in the bottom right about a man who traveled to Peru and got that all by himself, that's very much a news human interest story from someone who is not traveling. The picture in the top left, a state-by-state guide to travel restrictions in the US, that is far more of a response to someone who is planning travel domestically within America, and indeed the story about travelers booking long-term stays in US cities would be about speaking to an emerging demographic, the digital nomads who may be thinking about traveling to somewhere for 3 months, 6 months, possibly even longer. The next slide, please. I can do it. Aha. So to speak a little more about different audiences and the same goal, Lonely Planet is a global brand. So we don't just speak to one particular audience. We speak to travelers who may be in as diverse locations as China, Europe, the United States, emerging markets all over the world. We understand that our audience's perception of issues like sustainable travel is not consistent, and it can vary very much the type of information that people are looking for and what they are prepared to really engage closely with. In order to make the best solutions, we work closely with local experts and tourism organizations to ensure we are in step with the expectations of our audience. So we are increasingly following a different model to traditional travel writing research, and we see markets like China, Taiwan, and Oceania, Australia and New Zealand, that are comparatively fast recovering after COVID, as really giving key opportunities for us and for other other travel content providers. I wanted to just on the next slide quickly just talk about the different guidebook partners that we have. 13 international partners who publish in their native languages. To talk just a little about the response to COVID and what we have done. Before COVID, we drove traffic to around about 15 million unique users a month. During COVID, we actually reduced our editorial team and we reduced our commissioning while producing relevant content and still publishing around about 250 news and feature articles a month. So we were very keen to stay visible throughout a period where maybe when we know people were traveling less, but they were still very keen to get some information. During the COVID crisis, we have pivoted and focused on specific content streams driving traffic as far as possible. So our aim has been very much to get traffic coming through to our website. So we've done some new things that we wouldn't have done before, thinking about people traveling from home, looking at world food, destination drinks, virtual vacations, outdoor content aimed at inspiring for when people can travel, and weekend breaks. We have at this time narrowed our focus somewhat to focus on English language markets with relevant content for domestic travel. There are a few examples of that on the next slide and what that looks like. You will see that the photography that we are using and the way in which we are approaching it is much more about presenting a lifestyle around a love for the world and all the things that we're currently not necessarily as connected to, and maybe attempting to discover them in a new way. That said, and this is the final slide on this topic, I will go on to the next one after, is that the Lonely Planet's mission is to provide information alongside inspiration. So our travel life cycle addresses the challenge of clear presentation of information alongside inspirational content. We seek to meet the needs of travelers at every stage of their journey, whether they are dreaming about traveling, whether they're actually planning and booking, whether they're actually going on the road, or whether they are back again. And we understand at the moment most people cannot travel. Many want to as soon as it's safe to do so, and when the time comes, we'll need reliable information. And we do this by presenting topical, eye-catching features for when readers are at the top of that discovery funnel, that discovery journey, while also making clear the depth of content that we have available for destination planning. If I may, I will just talk briefly about what this new era really means for us at Lonely Planet, which is slide 12. So the world's biggest destinations were already on a journey before COVID-19 hit. I like to say that COVID hasn't actually done new things to the world. It has accelerated existing things. It has made things that are already present go faster. So sustainable and regenerative travel options were increasingly demanded by travelers. We saw this very clearly in terms of the requests that were coming through and what was popular with our audience. The expectation is that is presented as the norm. Rather than have travel writers coming in from other parts of the world, coming in from other parts of the world, a focus on local contributors. So people who are in a destination as being the best possible guides and the best possible people to know how to present their communities and tell their stories. Following on from that, a focus on community tourism in all its many forms and diversity of experience. So tours and generally travel experiences that are really focused on local communities. Another very important part, and awareness of the need to disperse tourism, so not to have large groups of tourists in one particular location, often using technology. All of those things I think will continue to move much faster in this new era that we are in. So we have some fresh solutions for that. We have domestic, overland and low impact tourism at the heart of this new offering. A recognition of the value of diversity of contributors, and voices telling their own stories in communities. Tourism restarting with the input of communities right from the start, and technology really feeding into that. The use of pre-booking mobile phone applications and websites for big attractions, and also crowd capacity applications telling people when there are large numbers of people in a particular place. I think this is very important when people are first returning to destinations. The role of publishers in that, I think there are 5 things really that publishers should be doing, and certainly that Lonely Planet is trying to do. We want to advocate for the traveller. We want to be on the side of the traveller. The second is to understand and meet new needs around health, transport, and insurance. We want to be nimble, be fast moving. So we want to work to have local contributors who can update information quickly on reopenings, new procedures, and on the ground conditions for travellers. The fourth thing is we want to give platforms to new voices and recognise change makers in tourism. And the fifth is to build better connections with tourism organisations and other organisations to help with the creation and the sharing of critical information. So that's really where we are and where we see our role in all of this. Thank you, Sylvia.
Great, great. Well, while it is true that the situation is stagnant when it comes to trips, the data tells us that the exchange of information online is very high, and so this means that people are ready to start traveling again. People are already dreaming about future trips. And so they look for information in this regard, both in order to discover new destinations and to find information on the current situation. So now, Mrs. Rossi has already spoken about the possible data concerning tourist flows. So, we would like to ask her, since she is the marketing director of Enit, we would like to ask her a question about the promotion policies of Enit for Italian tourism. Well, I think that all the speakers share the values we want to uphold in the future. Now, those values were already present in our strategic documents and our programs, and we have always been interested in sustainability, inclusion, accessibility. I believe that these themes require our attention. We have the time to do so. And of course, we should also make use of the technologies that are available. Now, there's a new element, namely safe and the so-called safe and seamless, and which has to do with our experiences and the experiences of all possible future travelers. Now, as Enit, we have already started working on studies. So, knowledge is paramount. By knowledge, I mean the knowledge that can be gathered by use of all instruments. Now, these instruments are very useful, and there is a lot of data that can be collected from partners and the business and travel community. Now, on the other hand, there is training, research, and development. Training is important. We have the time that is required to carry out proper training. We have a possibility of focusing on very important themes in order to be ready when the time comes. Now, this is a very important opportunity for us, and Enit will carry out programs with an academy dedicated to operators, but also to the entire sector. Mr. Tapinassi spoke about the mindset change that is required. So it is not only about technology, but it is also about the supply chain and culture. Now, when it comes to marketing and communication, we will carry out brand awareness campaigns. Now, we have been carrying them out ever since March. Now, those campaigns are currently taking place in large Italian cities. Now, again, this is a very important campaign that is taking place also on very important newspapers. Now, a project on the ways of Dante is about to be launched as well, because the story of Dante exemplifies the importance of new ways of doing things. And since people now are interested in doing things slow and enjoying nature and so on and so forth, this is very interesting. Now, we've spoken about cities, and there needs to be a new relationship between the city centre and the suburbs. Now, these two entities should not be one against the other. Now, before COVID, large cities amounted to 60% of tourist flows. So, all these things require changes. Now people now work from remote and they are experiencing economic problems. So new campaigns, positioning campaigns will be required, also on the basis of reference areas. Now, first we will have to start from Europe, and then we will have to move on to countries beyond Europe. And of course, those will depend on our ability to travel in the future. Now, in southern Italy, we have carried out several initiatives, such as the one with Nutella, which requires a QR code that leads you into a 3D world. So you can have a very interesting experience through virtual reality, and similar things will be carried out in order to uphold the values that are to be part not only of the tourism industry, but also as citizens, and we are the best ambassadors of our country. Now, I believe, yeah, the sound is a bit delayed. Yes, it is. So I apologize for this unexpected break, but I was waiting for the second voice to end its speech. Thank you, Miss Rossi, for these very positive messages. Thank you. And I wish your proceedings every success. Thank you. We haven't stopped working. And we can now focus on activities and relationships in order to seize the new opportunities that will be available when we can start working again at full speed.
Certo. Dunque, a questo punto, sempre con questo ritorno,
Now,
io ridò la
despite
parola
the
alla
delay,
dottoressa
we can
Benatti, che
give
tra
the
qualche
floor
modo
back
ci
to Mrs.
illustra un
Benatti,
po' il tema della prossima sessione,
who
che si focalizzerà
will
sullo
introduce
smart
the
cities,
topic of the
quindi
next
rimanendo sempre in
session,
questo
which will
ambito
focus on smart cities.
della tecnologia
So we will
e del
speak
turismo
about
online,
technology,
in che modo
online
la
tourism.
tecnologia supporta
How
lo
can
sviluppo
technology
delle smart
support
cities.
the development of smart
Io le
cities?
chiedo, dottoressa, di parlare lentamente,
Ms.
anche
Benatti, I would
per
like to
agevolare
ask
il
you to
lavoro
speak slowly
delle
also
traduzioni
for our
in
translators to
diretta
be
e
able
un po' in questo
to
strano problema di
translate
audio.
what she's saying, also for this due to this strange audio problem.
trattare.
Yeah,
Non si
thank you
preoccupino
for
i
telling me
giornalisti
because
di
the
passare
YouTube
il
is
prossimo giorno
very
perché non entrerò
fast.
nelle loro aree di pertinenza, ma
But
ovviamente
don't
quando si parla di
worry.
tecnologie di smart
for the next speakers because I will not speak for too long. Now, I deal with smart cities on a daily basis, but now I would like to focus on the use of smart technologies and how these technologies can help the mobilization of people. Now, there is a very interesting case, namely that of Thailand, which in 2019, due to overtourism, had to close the very famous Maya Bay, which was the bay where a famous film with Leonardo DiCaprio was shot. The closing of tourist destinations for the management of a huge number of tourism cannot be an option. So when it comes to smart cities, this problem can be solved. Smart cities can play a role in the improvement of the travel experience of the hundreds of millions of tourists who use our services on a yearly basis. So we can make the trips of people and travels of people really unforgettable. So we have been working with a series of governmental and non-governmental bodies. Now, I have mentioned Thailand, but I will no longer mention it because I will move on to more topical situations. We have been working on four fundamental areas. The first one is the mobilization of passengers, which is a problem that we also have in Italy. Hopefully, we will have the same problem in the near future. The capacity of airports is not endless, and the idea of improving inbound flows will improve the mobilization of passengers. And that is where technology plays a fundamental role. Witness the check-in phase or the delivery of baggage. Carrying out these features through the cloud can really help airports manage visitors better, and the services can be calibrated based on the flow of the demand, which would have a huge impact when it comes to costs. Now, automation is also an important factor. These are all areas in which, when using this kind of technology, different needs can be catered to, both when it comes to the mobilization of tourists, but also and there are also biometric solutions that enable passengers to log in through a selfie. And since their morphological features are already on the website, another very important thing is intermodality, which is means of transport are very important for tourism, and technology can really help avoid the overlapping of means of transport, and it can lead to a decrease in CO2 emissions.
Tutte quelle connessioni senza soluzione di continuità che possano anche favorire quello che è lo sviluppo delle destinazioni secondarie. Oppure i collegamenti che possano far fluire molto meglio tutto un aspetto di mobilità per quanto attiene al percorso su strada.
This would improve the mobility of people when it comes to transport, whether it be by plane, by car, and so forth. But technology can also be used to accelerate growth in in secondary tourism. A lot of secondary destinations have a series of infrastructures that could become very competitive for the finding of alternative solution if there were the possibility of having two point-to-point connections. So imagine being at the hotel and being able to check in your luggage before you go to the airport. The third area would be the usefulness of data to minimize the impact of tourism. Now, the limitation to the number of tourists is not the solution, and use of real data and the use of predictive models could help tourism bodies and municipalities, but also the business that revolves around hospitality to better manage high season periods.
Quello che manca è la capacità di interconnetterli in una maniera che restituiscano delle informazioni. E ultimo, ma non da ultimo, ovviamente è un
So last but not least
miglioramento di quello che è la partnership tra
is the improvement of the partnership between the public and the private sector.
Non solo mi riferisco a servizi di sharing mobility che non possono esistere
I'm not only
città, ma devono essere implementati
speaking about shared mobility projects,
sono anche dei servizi che in questo momento
but also we could improve services
fortune avverse e
that
tutto quello che è il trasporto
aren't currently successful,
on demand rispetto a quello che è un servizio pubblico.
but they could be made more competitive in the near future. Now, these are the 4 areas which could really benefit from technology. Thank you, Miss Benati. I believe that all of this has been very interesting, and I hope that our viewers, and especially our institutional viewers, will be able to build upon them and turn them into concrete actions for the future, and that will be a huge leap forward. Well, we are willing to collaborate with everybody, so feel free to contact us. Now, before giving the floor to the last speaker, I would like to remind our viewers that they can ask questions through our social media channels and this event. Now, of course, the event is very long, so we will write down all the questions that we will receive. We will ask them to the speakers, and then we will provide you with the answers by email, and we will do it with all the questions that we receive. Now, I have a question, and one final question for Mr. Tapinassi. Now, going back to sustainability, we have spoken about the trouble that is experienced when measuring sustainability. But the last question is, how can sustainability be transmitted to operators and destination operators? Now, there is one thing that I would like to tell Miss Benati. I really agree with what you said, and indeed, we are doing whatever we can in Tuscany. In Tuscany, our goal is not only to provide public and private governance to make informed choices. I also believe that we should think of our consumers. Now, when I hear people speaking about smart tourism, people always speak about the problems of the city, but I think we should focus on our people as well. And if we don't inform people properly, we will never be able to reach the goals that we want to reach. So in order to have smart cities, we need smart people. Now, COVID-19, when it comes to all of this, has played a fundamental role and cities are becoming smarter and smarter in order to avoid contagion. And for instance, supermarkets are no longer allowing queues of people to form, and so hopefully we will be able to take the better from the bitter and become increasingly smart. Now, by carrying out research on a global level, I have been able to understand a great deal of things, and I have to say that now more than ever, some of the things that have been said are becoming relevant again. Transparency, relevance, and many others. Now, the first thing that we should do as destinations should be thinking of the stories that we want to recount. Now, sustainability is not only about the environment. Sustainability is about social responsibility. So it's something that is way more complex than, for instance, reducing energy consumption. Now, the second aspect should be focusing on our interlocutors. Now, and when speaking to German people, we do not need to remind them how to differentiate their waste. It would be like telling an Italian person where the bedroom is. So the German people know that. So you need to take into account the identity of the people you interact with. And of course, there are huge differences from one country to another. Greece is very different from Denmark. Northern Europe is very different from Southern Europe. So that is the first theme. We need to be careful about what we say, and we need to take into account who we say it to. So communication is very important. Now, there are institutions, there are entities that say that they really care about sustainability, and then they entrust all the actions that they could carry out to visitors. For instance, washing their towels and so on and so forth. So I believe that tourist destinations should carry out actions that are concrete, and then visitors will have a choice, will have a possibility of choosing what destination they're interested in. Now, there are people who are not so interested in sustainability when they go on holiday as they are when they are at home. So communication again is paramount. Now, there are huge hotel chains that have carried out very interesting actions. They're really able to showcase what they do. So food waste is a very important topic, and there are many restaurants, many hotels that have decided not to throw away any of the food that they produce. And before COVID-19, much of the food that was prepared for breakfasts and so on was wasted. Now, there is one last thing. I believe we should speak about sustainability, in destinations as well. What do I mean by that? Some people think that if a place does not have a huge number of tourists, then it is automatically sustainable, but that is not true. Over-tourism is nothing but the bad management of a huge number of people in a short period of time, and it is not so common, and it affects smaller towns way more than large cities. Now, there are villages, towns that have 3,000 inhabitants during the winter, and then in summer they have 70,000 inhabitants. So again, communication is very important. Yes, villages are wonderful. Yes, the mountains are wonderful. But what is the real meaning of that? Now, if a small village only has one restaurant which can accommodate 40 people, then over-tourism there will be a problem if communication campaigns are not carried out properly. So all of this should be done seriously in terms of service organization. Now that is where change lies. We need to move on. We need to leave advertisement behind, and we need to focus on communication. So I don't believe the moral suasion of creating networks, and I don't even believe in the financial suasion. I don't believe in allocating money to create groups of companies, but I am optimist when it comes to digital suasion. I believe that we have a vision of an understanding of the web that is too limited. We only use it to advertise, and we advertise using very little money. But the internet was born in order to create connections, and in tourism this is exactly what is needed, especially in a system such as the Italian one, which is characterized by public and private individualism. In Italy, everybody is the best, everybody thinks they're the best, and they are not interested in really being sustainable, because they think they're being sustainable by repainting the whole of their hotel. So I believe COVID has changed our priorities, and this requires a change of pace in terms of governance and attention. So hopefully events such as events that have given room to speakers who have very interesting things to say will prove useful. I want people to understand that tourism is a very important economic factor, and it requires professionalism and knowledge. And you cannot do things in an approximative manner. That is not the way of gaining credibility when it comes to the tourism offer of our country. So, Mr. Tapinassi, now your conclusion has been very interesting. You've also mentioned some of the best practices that should be implemented, and hopefully we will be able to do it. Thank you. Thank you very much to you and to all of our speakers. This session has been very interesting, and it has provided us with a lot of food for thought. And hopefully very interesting things will emerge from this session. This pandemic could serve as a starting point for us to be better and do things better. So now I will leave the floor. I would like to show you a video, and in the last video we have seen a young Dante Alighieri who was discovering new digital instruments in a modern Ravenna, but in the next video there will be a female protagonist whom we like to consider as a modern Beatrice visiting the city of Dante. Now, after this video, Tom Hall will moderate the next session, which will also be the last. Enjoy the rest of the event.
Pocket and I
Hello again. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all back to the second and final session of this event. This session is entitled Being a Capital, Smart Technologies for Tourism and the Experience of the City. Now, for all the change that we have seen in tourism and we will continue to see, city breaks and visits to cities generally remain as very key drivers of tourism and growth. So how cities present and organize themselves to stand out is a key driver of the choice of destination by travelers. The European Capital of Smart Tourism initiative seeks to recognize cities that excel in doing this. This project celebrates outstanding achievements by European cities as tourism destinations in 4 categories: sustainability, accessibility, digitalization, as well as cultural heritage and creativity. This EU initiative aims to start to promote smart tourism in the EU, to network and strengthen destinations, and to exchange of best practices. So to tell us more about their city and the journeys they've been on, I would like to welcome speakers who, in a format similar to the last, will each make 2 presentations. These speakers are all representing destinations that have either are European capitals of smart tourism for 2020 or have been so in 2019 or have been nominated to do so. So I will introduce our 4 panelists, and then I will invite the first one to speak. So we have Helena Lindqvist, who is a project manager for the European Capital of Smart Tourism 2020 for Gothenburg and Co. in Sweden. From Finland is Jenny Taipale, the Director for Partnerships and Development for Helsinki Marketing. So Helsinki was the 2019 Capital of Smart Tourism. I'm very pleased to welcome Mark Sanderson, who is the International Economic Development Director and the lead on the European Capital of Smart Tourism at the city of Malaga. So Malaga, the 2020 of Smart Tourism. And Maria Grazia Marini, who is a Director of the Tourism Department at the municipality of Ravenna, a shortlisted city for the European Capital of Smart Tourism. And Maria Grazia will tell us why Ravenna is a capital city later. But first, I would like to welcome Helena Lindqvist, who is going to tell us about Gothenburg, one of the European capitals of smart tourism, and talk about how it's moved from smart to smarter. Over to you, Helena.
Thank you, Tom. My name is Helena Lindqvist, and I would like to welcome you all to Gothenburg and Sweden. Gothenburg received the award European Capital of Smart Tourism for 2020. And this year I am managing the Gothenburg program as European Capital, an award that we share with Malaga. In addition to the main designation, Gothenburg also received a prize in the sustainability category. We are really honored and proud. Gothenburg is located in the heart of Scandinavia and on the west coast of Sweden, and it's easy to get there. From Stockholm, Oslo and Copenhagen, it will take you approximately 3 hours by train. And we can see that more and more people are interested in traveling by train to Sweden, and we welcome greater accessibility. Normally, you can fly to Gothenburg from 60 direct destinations, and we are connected to all major European hubs. But as we all know, the flight map is now redesigned this year, and we hope to be able to welcome our international guests back to us soon again. The city of Gothenburg holds approximately 600,000 residents, and the region more than 1 million. And if I would have held this presentation for you earlier this spring, before the COVID crisis, this would have been the figures that I would have presented regarding guest nights per year, passengers at Landvetter Airport and the number of cruise passengers, and also the visitors to the amusement park. But we all know that nothing is as it used to be this particular year. But we can see that our prospering city and with high quality of life attracts both people and talent. Gothenburg is a green metropolis and have beautiful park areas and wilderness in the middle of the city. And it's only a short tram ride away from the beautiful archipelago. The last 10 years, Gothenburg have implemented a sustainability strategy for the destination. The work has been successful and Gothenburg have received a lot of attention and awards for the achievements. For example, Gothenburg is the world's most sustainable destination according to the Global Destination Sustainability Index for 4 years in a row now. And last week, we could also reveal the exciting news that Gothenburg have being awarded the best sustainable city stay for 2021 by Lonely Planet. An important part of the Gothenburg sustainability work will be to further integrate the sustainable development goals and to enable industry action, showing how tourism and the hospitality industry can contribute to the SDGs. And last week, Gothenburg and company where I work, we launched an international website called 101sustainableids.com. On the website, we have collected 101 global sustainable IDs, and they are all connected to the SDGs. And on the website, you can nominate new IDs, and you can also share inspiration with others. I would like to present some of the examples and to show the variety of collaboration that made up our application for the European Capital of Smart Tourism. We have the electric buses. Approximately 95% of all public transport in Gothenburg is run by renewable energy. We have a project called Team Gothenburg, where it is the city pools for young event volunteers. And here, young people from all parts of Gothenburg are participating, and over 40 languages are spoken in the group. The city has also developed an accessibility app, which enables for people with functional variation to take part in events and meetings. The Liseberg Amusement Park is not only one of Scandinavia's largest tourist magnets, it's also an important workplace for young people. And the theme park is also at the forefront when it comes to sustainability. For example, the entire park is run by 100% wind power. And earlier this year, the amusement park also presented a digital keying, and we hope to be able to use it when the park opens again. In Gothenburg, meetings and events are catalysts for change, and we have the music festival Way Out West. Received a lot of attention, first to become a meat-free and also then a milk-free festival. And we have the Gothenburg Culture Festival. And that project aims to be a disposal-free event by 2021. For example, by installing tap water and offering a discount to the visitors who bring their own lunch boxes instead of putting the food in disposal containers. They have succeeded in reducing the burden on the environment. In Gothenburg, we have also initiated a digital destination data platform to develop the work with open data within the destination. Collaboration is really important for us in Gothenburg, and it's brought us where we are today. And Gothenburg has become a dense hub for collaboration between businesses, municipality, and academia. We hope to be able to contribute to a sustainable tourism hospitality industry, nationally and in Europe and internationally, globally. And Gothenburg's role as a sustainable destination, we hope to inspire other destinations, while we also can learn from others when it comes to other challenges that we are facing. Our vision is that Gothenburg will be even more sustainable and more accessible, and that we can offer more reasons to visit, and that digital collaborations will be tools, a natural part of increasing the visitor experiences. If we succeed in creating a city that is good for the citizens in Gothenburg and for the business community in general, then we think it will be exciting also for the visitors to come to Gothenburg. I would like to thank you all for listening, and once again I would like to welcome you to Gothenburg when the time is right again. Thank you.
Thank you, Helena. That's very interesting. I'm going to keep us moving and move on to the next speaker. So I'm working alphabetically through the list of city destinations, and so the next speaker is from Helsinki, Finland. Is Jenny Taipale, and she's going to tell us about the journey that he's been on since 2019. So welcome, Jenny.
Thank you, Tom. And good evening to you all. Thank you for the kind invitation to this event. I am really excited to be part of it. As Tom said, today I will tell you what the legacy of the European Capital of Smart Tourism has been for us in Helsinki. So Helsinki was awarded with the European Capital of Smart Tourism 2019 title as the first city, together with Lyon. The capital title was given to the cities that excelled in all of the four categories: digitalization, sustainability, accessibility, culture, and creativity. Helsinki's focus, the activity plan for the year, was to concentrate in strengthening the leadership in smart tourism development. For many years, we have been creating digital services, opening data, building accessible experiences, and developing sustainable tourism. And more importantly, we didn't want the work to stop there in the Smart Tourism year. Our focus still lies in smart tourism, and especially on digitalization and sustainability. And I will present this to you through a few case examples. So Helsinki is open for everyone. So is the data. Already since 2009, Helsinki has provided public city data for everyone to use freely. Why, you might ask? Because the open data gives software developers possibilities to come up with new and innovative applications, especially for benefit of the visitors and companies serving them. So Helsinki offers over 600 datasets that include information about events, services, and even the air quality. Also, our collaboration with the Chinese internet service giant Tencent to develop a WeChat My Helsinki mini program was based on our open data and My Helsinki Open API. Helsinki can be considered a pioneer in the utilization of open data and our virtual twin. Virtual Helsinki was based on an open 3D model, and Helsinki is the first city in the world to have the 3D city models available and open. These models have been used in urban planning, but they also can be explored destinations, archipelago, and other places that may not be otherwise accessible. So for destinations wanting to create new experiences, using virtual reality is not just a necessary tool, but it also should be integrated in the overall development of a destination. Still in the very core of our digital marketing is the myhelsinki.fi digital service. And the site itself consists of locally produced content and of more than 150 local guides giving genuine recommendations. All of its content is based on a good life in Helsinki. So best tips for both locals and visitors, talents and investors. Paid brand endorsements, partnerships or sponsored content, and about 90% of the users would recommend the service to a friend. Under myhelsinki.fi, you can also find our latest addition to the digital services, Think Sustainably. So Helsinki is committed to promoting a more sustainable way of life for everyone. The Think Sustainably service helps to choose more sustainable ways of living in Helsinki and enjoying the city. The base of the service is in tailor-made criteria that we developed together with an independent think tank called Demos Helsinki, and along with local interest groups and sustainability experts. One of the objectives of the service is to encourage companies to more sustainable actions in their operations. Currently, we have over 120 businesses and service providers like restaurants, shops, events, and accommodation in the service. And according to our impact study, 90% of the participants have taken concrete actions towards sustainability, encouraged by this criteria. We also developed the Sustainable Influencer Program with a criteria that addresses the areas of influencer cooperation, like traveling preferences, food, social responsibility, and products. There is a tool for both self-evaluation for influencers and a tool for us at Helsinki Marketing to determine if the influencers match the Helsinki brand and how we manage our influencer marketing planning, executing, and measuring. Our sustainable meeting guidelines were developed to help B2B event organizers and meeting planners make more sustainable choices. We have defined key criteria and indicators in order to measure and develop the sustainability of events. It measures both impacts on the environment, like waste creation and carbon emissions, as well as social impacts like education, networking, and knowledge sharing. Helsinki is an unbeatable cultural destination and next year a home of Helsinki Biennial, an international art event that will bring outstanding contemporary art to maritime Helsinki. Helsinki Biennial will present around 35 international artists or groups of artists from both Finland and around the world. And it will utilize the virtual Helsinki to offer an accessible experience for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny, and some absolutely wonderful images there as well, as to dream a little bit of travelling somewhere on a winter's day here. So following on from that, I'm going to bring in Mark Sanderson, who is International Economic Development Director and the lead on the European Capital of Smart Tourism in the city of Malaga in Spain, which, as we've heard, alongside Gothenburg, is the 2020 European Capital of Smart Tourism. Mark is going to talk to us about Malaga as a smart capital. So, Mark, please, over to you.
Great. Thank you, Tom. It's good afternoon to everyone, or close to good evening. Warm greetings from sunny Malaga to all those participating in this digital event, focusing on smart tourism and some of the global challenges that we're facing today. I want to thank the organizers, Sarah and the city of Ravenna, for inviting us to participate along with Helsinki and Gothenburg and themselves. It's a pleasure for me to be here today representing the mayor of Malaga and to have the opportunity to share with you all a little bit about our city and what we're doing when it comes to smart tourism. For those of you who don't know, Malaga is the sixth largest city in Spain. When it comes to population, we have approximately 570,000 inhabitants and a metropolitan population of close to 1.1 million people. It's obviously situated here on the Mediterranean Sea, so it enjoys one of the best climates in Europe. We have beaches, mountains, landscapes, of course, delicious cuisine, Mediterranean cuisine. Extending along the coast, of course, you'll find golf courses, more than 50 golf courses, and sailing marinas, and in the nearby Sierra Nevada mountains, we even have a ski station. So tourism is obviously an important industry, an economic leader for this region. It's an important transportation hub, and also a high-tech center, which I can explain more. Next slide, please. As the gateway to the Costa del Sol and to Andalusia, Malaga has a very modern transportation infrastructure. We have international flights to more than 137 destinations in 31 different countries, and we received last year around 20 million passengers. Our port is a very active when it comes to import and exports, but we have also cruise ships that are arriving constantly. Of course, this year that industry is on pause, but we usually have around 280, almost 300 cruise ships a year, and 500,000 passengers arriving by cruise ship. We also have the high-speed train, which connects us to the rest of Spain, to Madrid in 2.5 hours, which is fantastic when it comes to logistics and to getting people and tourists here to our lovely city. But Malaga is not only the gateway; it's also become a destination. This began to change really in the year 2000 when the city started to renovate its historic center and add new pedestrian spaces, as well as museums, celebrating obviously the life of Pablo Picasso, our famous artist who was born here, having a museum in his birthplace dedicated for his work. But we've added museums from France, from Pompidou. We've also added the Russian Art Museum, Automobile Museum, etc. So we have a tremendous cultural offering now and a reason for people to visit our city. This translated into a very exponential growth that we saw in the city when it comes to people really visiting the city. So instead of being just the gateway, Malaga became a popular European destination, and we saw the number of hotels, the number of people visiting and staying in the city increase rapidly. And this was important for our city, but it also was important for us to be able to handle that growth and that increase. And one of the ways we did that was through innovative technologies. We're fortunate that Malaga is located also in this area that is called Malaga Valley. This innovative ecosystem is a place that provides not only the technology park for Malaga Valley, which has over 600 technology companies there. We have business incubators and that support startups and their ideas. The University of Malaga has a very strong tourism as well, and also engineering and telecommunications. And finally, in this Malaga Valley ecosystem, we also have a digital content hub. This is a space, a building with over 9,000 square meters, really dedicated to digital content, to training people who want to work with animation, augmented reality, and other video content, which we know is so important these days in many industries, and especially in tourism. So we're very fortunate to have that facility here, and has been very beneficial in developing augmented reality solutions that we see. In the next slide, you can see one of those solutions that was created for our bus system, which uses augmented reality to identify the nearest locations for the bus stations and gives you information quickly and rapidly about when the buses arrive to that location. So as we say, Malaga is a popular tourist destination. It has lots of cultural heritage, but it's also a technology hub. We're using that technology to innovate and to improve the quality of life for the citizens and obviously the visitor experience for our tourists. We're very fortunate to be recognized by the European Union this year, along with Gothenburg, with the award for the European Capital of Smart Tourism. This has been a tremendous award for us, especially being able to share best practices, to participate in events like this one today, and to learn from everyone else how they're dealing with the pandemic, which I will go into more detail after the break. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. It's a fantastic overview of Malaga and the changes that we've seen in Malaga as a destination, and we look forward to hearing more shortly. I'm going to move on to Maria Grazia Marini, the Director of the Tourism Department at the Municipality of Ravenna. Maria Grazia is going to tell us a little more about Ravenna and indeed, hopefully, why it is a capital city. So I'll pass over to you for that, please.
Well, Ravenna used to be the Italian capital. It was the last capital of the Western Roman Empire, and over the centuries it has preserved wonderful mosaics that are recognized by UNESCO as World Heritage Sites. Now, last year it was among the finalists for the European Capitals for Smart Tourism. Now, we call ourselves the capital of mosaics, and we are at the center of the celebrations of the year dedicated to Dante, who died in Ravenna 700 years ago. However, Ravenna is not only the city where Dante died, it is the city where he lived, surrounded by friends and intellectuals, and here he could express his talent. It is the town that inspired him. Now, his metaphor for earthly paradise was inspired by a building that is here near Ravenna, and next to places that are linked to Dante, such as his tomb and the places that he used to visit. In Ravenna, you need to visit mosaics that are found in many different churches, and you should visit them while picturing Dante next to you. And it was by walking around Ravenna that he first pictured his idea of paradise. Now, this is a very difficult time. Dante spoke about very difficult times at the beginning of the Divine Comedy, but we need to do our best in order to emerge from this crisis, also by use of technology, and we should do it without forgetting our own identity. And now, Ravenna is the city and the town of inspiration, so I will speak to you about a few projects we have been working on. Now, there is an innovation and digitization space that we have hosted inside our two main museums. This project has been financed by the European Union, among others. Now, this project is dedicated to Dante and virtual reality. The concept envisages the creation of a 2D and 3D film inspired by Dante's Divine Comedy. The slides will help me show you what the project is about. The title is The Virtual Divine Comedy, Traveling Through the Eyes of Dante. Now, this project is underway, and it envisions a series of classes where, in schools, lessons in school where young boys and girls have been trained to use digital technologies, and these young people have contributed to the creation of this virtual process, and where images are used to recount the story of Dante. And you should know that there aren't so many films that have been dedicated to Dante's Divine Comedy. Now, 110 years ago, there was a film, a silent film in black and white that focuses on Dante's Divine Comedy. But today, Dante's inspiration will underlie this new use of technology. We will use images and pictures in order to showcase the Divine Comedy. Now, the images that you're seeing date back to more than 110 years ago. So the technology of yesterday will become the technology of today in order to showcase Dante's visions. And so the iconographic legacy created by the Divine Comedy will be showcased. And Alessandro Parrello is the director of this film, and he's also written the script. and with the supervision of Alessandro Cavallaro. And the production has been supervised by West 46th Films with the support of the municipality of Ravenna. So Dante will be the protagonist of a virtual reality project, making use of digital technology. This is what we will be doing in the next months. Now, there is a second project that I would like to speak about. Now, it is a project dedicated to inspiration, and this project was born in Finland, thanks to a young Italian artist. Now, Enrico Mazzone was in Finland, and he was gifted a 97 by 4 meters roll of paper, and he started drawing on this scroll, which weighed 120 kilograms, and he started drawing the entire Divine Comedy. Upon coming back to Italy, he received the patronage of the Mercato Coperto, the covered market, which is a structure that has recently been renovated, and the project is about to be completed. Now, only 10 meters are left for the entire Divine Comedy to be drawn. The municipality of Ravenna, thanks to an association and co-working modalities, will digitize this work, and I would like to show you a very brief video that is basically a preview of this work in order to see together the way digitization and inspiration can coexist. And then that will be the end for my first speech.
Cinque anni fa sono atterrato a Rauma, che è un paesino nella costa sud-occidentale della Finlandia. Mi sono, per così dire, prodigato nell'arco di 5 anni, costantemente, lavorando giorno dopo giorno. Quello che oggigiorno, nella realtà quotidiana, compare come Divina Commedia completata al 95%.
Il fatto che sia un'opera così materica, che però con questo progetto viene digitalizzata, ancora di più unisce elementi di antico e elementi di assoluta modernità.
Thank you very much. Amazing, amazing video, amazing work taking place there. So we are talking obviously at the end of 2020. It has been an incredible year and very much dominated by the pandemic that has had such an impact on travel across Europe. Our cities will have had to respond and put plans in place for what comes next. I'm sure it will be of great interest to everybody listening to hear more about how they see 2021 taking shape for them. So I'm going to Helena Lindqvist from Gothenburg & Co., who can tell us a little more about that city's response to the pandemic.
Could you please repeat the question once again, please?
Sure. I'm just going to ask if you could talk us through the city's response to the pandemic.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Thank you so much. I would like to present persons per table are allowed, and there will be no alcohol serving after 10 o'clock in the evening. We can proceed in the presentation. In Gothenburg, we have focused on three main strategies. For us, it has been really important to be close to our industry and to increase knowledge and to offer insights and facts and figures and to present it to the stakeholders and to our partners. We have also put a lot of efforts into national and international networks and collaborations. During this year, we have adapted the communications and our target groups. We have a close dialogue with authorities, and we have invested a lot in partner support. And as many other destinations, we also have a strong focus on different kind of digitalization projects. And next slide, please. When it comes to communication, we have redirected our communication to a local and regional and national target group. Earlier this spring in April, we launched a local campaign called Support Your Locals. And during the summer period, we launched a local and regional campaign called Experience Your Gothenburg, where we invited the citizens of Gothenburg to recommend their favorite places to visit in the destination. We have also collaborated with a number of other Swedish destination management organizations regarding a national campaign called Explore Sweden. And next image, please. Regarding the communication campaigns and in the autumn, we have launched a campaign autumn in October. We are now presenting a Christmas campaign for the initiatives in those campaigns are outdoor activities. For example, during these Christmas initiatives, we are presenting an outdoor light artwork walk with spectacular international light artworks and installations. As a DMO, we have focused on a lot of providing statistics and analysis. And we are using Power BI tools. So each week on our corporate website, we will be able to present new figures for our stakeholders and for the industry. And we have also focused a lot regarding producing and collecting industry-related reconnaissance. And we have also shared this, of course, with our partners. Next slide. And as we all have been aware of, the digitalization development has been really rapid during this year and due to the COVID-19. In Gothenburg, we have invited stakeholders and partners to several workshops during this year and focusing on the need of the digitalization in the tourism industry. And we combine that with inviting participants from the IT sector to be able to use their competence regarding this question. In Gothenburg, we have also developed a digital destination data platform focusing on open data, and we are developing new methods for hybrid meetings and events, and we're also exploring ways to display our destination in a digital way regarding digital site visits. And this year, there have been a general focus on offering online experiences from Gothenburg. work for future visitors. Next slide, please. Some final reflections from Gothenburg. For us, the focus on safety and security and health and distance is the most crucial, the most important thing. And we also have realized the importance of reciprocity of localism. We also need to focus on new and adapted reasons to travel. And as mentioned earlier, the digitalization and the data development really both expected development in a faster pace than expected, but also new innovation connected to the COVID-19 pandemic. Next slide. As a DMO, we must ensure smart and sustainable solutions in the new normal. And it's important for us to be close to our partners and to help and enable and to show direction. And as a DMO, we need to have both a short, a medium, and long-term perspective simultaneously. I would like to thank you all again for listening, and I would like to thank the organization in Ravenna for inviting us from Gothenburg to participate in this fantastic conference. And welcome back to Gothenburg when possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Helena. You know, as I think we said in the previous session, what we're going to do with all of the questions and comments that are coming through on our social channel is we will collect them, we will ask participants to put together replies, and we will come back to you in the interests of the time that the session is going for at the moment. So with that in mind, I'll come back to Jenny Taipale at Helsinki Marketing to tell us some more about future plans for Helsinki, Finland. Thank you. Is Jenny there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh,
yes, now we have the picture as well.
Welcome back, Jenny.
Thank you, Tom. Yes. As we all even too well know, the COVID-19 crisis has had a strong impact on tourism and event industry. That's also affecting our work at Helsinki Marketing. We reacted immediately to these exceptional circumstances by adapting our functions to the crisis and reorganizing our operations for the future. Our strengths, agility, and flexibility have enabled us to renew our operations quickly. Helsinki Marketing strategy and priorities were renewed to coincide with the current situation as well as the future challenges. Our role changed during this crisis, and we mapped different possibilities for the future. We believe that Helsinki offers many of these things people will be looking for in a place to visit, live, or work, which are space, stability, and sustainability. We can happily state that the emphasis on our activities has been relevant also before, during, and after the crisis. We still have two cross-cutting points in our actions: digital innovations and sustainability. Investing even more in these both will be necessary after the crisis. The city of Helsinki continues to invest heavily in its climate work and is working hard towards becoming carbon neutral by 2035. So I will tell you now how our path has been towards the new normal. So our actions during the crisis were to support the locals. Next slide, please. Due to the isolation caused by the COVID-19, it became crucial to build connections and to raise positive spirit among people. This is why we wanted to better the communication with our clients, our partners, stakeholders and locals. During the spring, we focused our communication strongly towards the locals. The My Helsinki website supported the City of Helsinki's crisis communication, and its role was especially aimed to build a sense of community and to lift spirits. Next slide, please. Then we set to identify and seize the opportunities in digital and innovations. This new situation offered new opportunities to increase people's awareness about Helsinki. And just to name a few, we developed a new concept for virtual meetings called the Helsinki Method for Meetings and Events, which we gladly offer for your use as well. We strongly believe that sharing our best practice is the way for better, and this has been and will continue to be a core value for Helsinki. More information on Helsinki Method you can find on meethelsinki.fi. We took our virtual Helsinki platform to use as we look towards the future of online events. One example of this was Helsinki's virtual May Day, a concept that was created to support people's celebration of May Day at home by offering one-of-a-kind virtual concert free of charge. Around 25% of the Finns took part, and even bigger visibility was gained through international media interest. This so-called Vappu at Home virtual event was just awarded by the City Nation Place Awards for the best citizen engagement. Next slide, please. So the future is here, and what are the conditions for the future growth? We know that there is no going back, so we have systematically started to prepare for the future and to analyze conditions for the future growth. We focus on creating new growth sustainably and developing our operations responsibly. We are actively monitoring the development of the situation in the tourism industry and are developing a market analysis of the current situation. We need to have a clear vision of our future markets when the borders will be fully opened and people are able to travel. Currently, we are analyzing the themes highlighted in the future for congresses and event sales. For example, the themes of security, sustainability, and virtuality will certainly become increasingly important selling points. We have also started to work to outline a better picture of what the future will be for the tourism event industry. What will, for example, happen to the international visitors in general, and what is the role of the city marketing companies? Our partners and external experts will be in a key role participating and helping us to anticipate the future. Finland has survived the pandemic relatively well so far, but we can't yet have visitors coming to Helsinki due to the very tight restrictions in traveling to Finland. But we need to keep our end of the world in people's minds, so we have just launched a new campaign in form of a mini documentary series. So I'd like to show you a teaser, and please stay tuned for the coming episodes at myhelsinki.fi. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jenny, and thank you for that overview into the response of Helsinki. The phrase "there is no going back" was very striking for me. I'm sure we all feel the same as we look to the future, hopefully with some optimism for 2021. With that in mind, and possibly to bring the theme a little bit more back towards technology and its use in innovation in tourism, I'd like to bring Mark back in from Malaga to tell us some more about the use of technology in the development of Malaga as a tourism destination and the information.
Great. Thank you, Tom, very much for the opportunity to talk a little bit more about what we're doing in response to COVID here in Malaga. Obviously, the tourism sector was affected across Europe and Spain, and of course here in Malaga, it was devastating. Health and safety are obviously the number one priorities, which we keep in mind. as we tried to obviously help our hospitality sector, which is such a vital sector for our city. The first when all this took place, this past spring, the first thing we wanted to do, of course, was to understand the impact of the situation. We wanted to make sure we had open communication with the tourism sector, with the companies. We utilized our tourism forum, which has been around for more than 15 years. We reached out to them, listened to how they were being affected by the pandemic, and also wanted to hear their ideas as well to how to move forward. The city itself was focusing on designing a recovery plan, an overall recovery plan for the city, and tourism, of course, one of the major pillars of that recovery plan. And so the mayor has been involved from the very beginning at this recovery. The other ways that we responded were through training. So our local training and facility also provided specific courses on the protocols and measures important for obviously the hotel sector, for the restaurants, giving them official and correct advice about how to move forward. And those training courses were provided by the city of Malaga. We also created a campaign, Malaga Safe for You, and a website and a portal to communicate to the visitors that Malaga was doing everything it could to stay safe. We also proposed alternative routes, alternative destinations within the city, to the beach, or maybe to the mountains around Malaga. So communication was key, and training for the sector. The next slide, please. The other thing we did very quickly was to create a challenge, a tourism challenge, and this sort of hackathon or challenge had over 300 proposals, great ideas that allowed us to start thinking about what the recovery would look like. The winners, we had 2 winners, an iSmart guide and a co-living application as well, which we're continuing to work with them and develop those solutions. One of the things we learned from the challenge was obviously the importance of sharing data, open data. So if we see in the next slide, Malaga is a leader when it comes to open data sets. We have more than 900 data sets available for individuals and companies to use to create useful applications for the tourist. So if we go to the next slide, we can see a direct example of that. This summer, we had problems with overcrowding on the beaches where people could not maintain social distancing. And so the University of Malaga and the city worked together to create an application that utilizes open data that could predict the capacity throughout the day of the different beaches and provide information to tourists and to citizens to know when they could visit or not visit a beach. It also uses artificial intelligence to help in those predictions. And it was a very successful application that we developed this summer, and obviously a great example of how to use data in a positive way. In the next slide, you can see other things we did, which was around hybrid events, which obviously other destinations are doing as well. We had several events this autumn, including a film festival, a European Smart Agri-Food event. And these events took place in a hybrid format, people participating both in person but also online. And they were all very successful events. and I think demonstrate that when done properly and following protocols, you can have these events. And the last thing we did from a city perspective was rapid tested. We purchased the antigen rapid tests, and at these hybrid events, we use the testing that take 15 minutes in order to give people the confidence that they could attend an event and be safe within that event. We use these tests not only for the events, but also for the hospitality sector in general, including the hotels and restaurants who would like to participate and take tests. So again, this was a great example and demonstration of how rapid testing can help create safe destinations. So thank you very much. That's a quick and brief overview of how we're responding and using technology to respond to the pandemic. Obviously, as we move forward, it'll be important to continue listening to the sector and understand their needs. And there'll be adaptations that we have to respond to quickly. And we look forward to the challenges and are very thankful to be able to participate in events like this where we share ideas and best practices. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Wonderful to hear of some of those initiatives that are going on that I think will become increasingly standardized around events in particular. So we've heard from Spain, we've heard from Finland, we've heard from Sweden, and it feels appropriate that our last speaker brings us back to Ravenna, the home of this event, and back to Maria Grazia. And I'm hoping that that you can tell us some more about inspiration and really, I think, happier and more inspiring reasons to travel and to things to look forward to. After all, one of the reasons why we're talking about this this event is Dante and the development of the Vida Dante walk, which is one of the things that flags up and it's best in travel. So perhaps I might just start by asking you to tell us a little bit more about what you see as the relationship between inspiration and real experiences when it comes to bringing people to a destination and how they then enjoy themselves while they're there.
Well, thank you. Thank you for explaining the relationship between digitization and experience, because digitization is an instrument, but it is experience which still lies at the heart of any other element. We think that digitization and technology We think that digitization can be a source of creativity and new experiences, but these new technologies need inspiration. And it needs to be transformed into entirely something that is entirely different. I will try and explain myself by making a couple of examples. We have been following a couple projects here in Ravenna. The first one is a project we launched in September. And this project is an auditory and immersive tour that enables you to walk around the places of Ravenna that have seen Dante or preserved his memory by use of a technology that is normally used by silent discos. So this technology that enables people to dance without disturbing people around you has been transformed into a technology that enables Dante to speak. Unfortunately, it has suspended, but we will be able to walk around Ravenna while listening to Dante's voice. We will be able to listen to the things that inspired him while he was alive. Now I would like to show you a video that shows some of the places that are featured in the silent play for Dante. As I was saying, these tours have been suspended, but they will start again as soon as possible, because I assure you that walking around Ravenna and in walking around Piazza San Francesco, you will listen to the end of the Divine Comedy, so the part on heaven, on paradise, and that will be very moving. Now, there is another project that I would like to tell you about, and this experience is a mix of digitization and creativity and inspiration. And this project is called Visioni di Eterno. This is a video mapping program on our UNESCO site that is able to communicate what is hosted inside these monuments. Now, for those who don't know Ravenna it hosts apparently simple Byzantine and Paleo-Christian structures, and these structures are made of simple bricks, but on the inside there is a wonderful mosaic. Now, we have mapped all UNESCO monuments. We will show you a peel of what has been done for 2 consecutive years on the San Vitale Basilica, the architecture of which is used to recount the way that the art of mosaic is still a source of inspiration and wonder. Now, since the event couldn't be organized for this winter, we have decided to use video pills onto QR codes that will be made available at the signals that are, the road signs that are near these monuments. So we have invented a new instrument to make up for the inability to be there in person. So now you can see the last video, and of course you're all invited to Ravenna to walk together with Dante and find your personal inspiration together with him and us. Thank you. Thank you for providing us with so much food for thought. Thank you for giving us a lot of ideas, our speakers and our viewers to plan the next edition or the after festival. So I've written down a lot of things, and but I don't want to waste your time. We have seen that all the cities that have shared their experience have spoken about the technology that can be used to enhance the experience of our guests. But of course, we should believe from a careful analysis. We should start from a careful analysis of data, and data can be used to make better choices and embark upon better paths. And all these paths can be aimed at improving destinations. And this experience will be increasingly seamless and security oriented. All of this will have to lead to the enhancement of territories and to best manage their organization, trying to avoid a chaotic experience over tourism peaks that can involve not only the destination in and of itself, but also the monuments, specific sites of monuments. So what we must be able to do with this data is create a user experience that is more connected with the single needs of consumers. That's modulating our proposal with respect to different sources that are listening to us, and both by focusing on an experience that can begin online on our smartphones, and then must find an implementation in the real world, in the offline world, as in the last example that we have seen when it comes to the mapping of UNESCO sites. So we've spoken about the data management platforms, we've spoken about user experiences, we've spoken about the design of tourism experience. Why do I say design? Because we should take care not only of the beauty of our past, but also of their functionality. So we are to make their experience linear and able to move our guests. So I would like to show you one last video, which is just the conclusive video. And I would like to remind you that after will take place in Ravenna. Hopefully we will be able to be there in person in March or April of next year. Goodbye everyone.